Richard Fortin Presents. Darren says we're good, so we're good. We made it to episode 29 this year. I think we're going to finish with 30 if we get lucky. 29. Thanks for tuning in to Richard Fortin Presents. Not live from Sweet 16 Studio, coming to you on YouTube's and Spotify right now. Today is a very good day in Sweet 16 Studio because I have Jason Harris, a documentary filmmaker type guy who's going to talk to us about his story right now. Jason, thank you for being here.
Awesome. Well, it's great to be here. You know, it's really nice. Looking forward to this in the new year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, tell me about, so when we met a few weeks ago, we reconnected. We've known each other a couple years. I've been watching you grow your business, which is one thing I'm sure we'll get into. But I asked you a question, which was, what's the type of work you'd really be passionate about doing, kind of moving forward in your career? And you talked to me about documentary film specifically. What is it about documentary that gets you so excited about the type of filmmaking you want to make?
Well, I think a lot of it is just all facets of very traditional storytelling and storytelling in a very real way, you know? Ways that, for the most part, don't manipulate too much of the story and don't manipulate too much of people's perception and really guide people in a way that can be informative and useful. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, is the usefulness of it. It goes back to community a lot of the time. It goes back to some kind of fundraising or charity work or something like that to get awareness spread of any kind of issue or topic or you know, even just a way of being. A lot of the time, documentaries are very flexible in that way, but also rigid in the sense that they want to, you know, commit to a certain format and a certain series of not really sure how to word that, but that they need to be committed to, you know, the truth ultimately. And when you go outside of that, I feel like people start to kind of question things, and if people have to think that deeply about it, then, you know, it kind of defeats the purpose of a documentary and the beauty of that kind of you know, living story, very organic story.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're doing this type of thing, filmmaking, videography, video work, because we love stories. At the end of the day, it's the story that matters, and like you say, making it have impact, I think, is what every creative is trying to do. Do you think of yourself as an artist?
I would say yes. I find that it's just best to kind of classify myself that way because, like anything, any form of art, you know, if I were just producing a product, then people go to something for the sake of consistency. People go to a brand, they go to something because they want that same product every time. The reality of filmmaking, this is something I see very kind of pervasively, is that it changes. It adapts, it grows, it shrinks, it, you know, and it has to adapt to whatever circumstances create it. So in that way, I think that, yeah, like it's undeniable, especially for myself personally, to say that I'm an artist. Like, I have to classify myself that way because I know that I will change. I know that I will grow. I know that my style, it will go all over the place. It will, you know, I will experiment with everything. And I think when you stop experimenting and you stagnate, that's when you lose things. You know, I love seeing, I'm always inspired by artists like Neil Young. You know, he's a perfect example of that, how even now he's, you know, what, I don't even know how old, like 70s. He's not Neil Young anymore, he's Neil Old now, you know, and he's still experiments, he still grows, he still changes. His
comes out with music all the time. He's constantly coming out with new music, isn't he? He just came out with something like last week, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, something like that, like, he is a true artist. And that's what I aspire to be, is something like that, you know, my technique will change, my approach will change, my belief will change. And if I'm not at some point saying, wow, I completely, feel a completely different way about something that I hated in the past. Now I love it. That's good.
Being willing to change, being able to adapt, being able to see things a different way. That's really interesting. Who opened your mind and inspired you to see that you could live a lifestyle like this? That this didn't just have to be like, I'm going to go to a 9 to 5 that maybe, sucks the life out of me, but I'm going to really try to make a go of it. Is there anybody in your life that really inspired that in you?
I don't know that it was any one person. I think, we're all made by our community. We are made by everyone kind of around us. And because of that, I think that it's really important to kind of pay homage to that in that way that, every person that I had an encounter with in, my teens, in my youth, the people who inspired me the most were those people who were free, and regardless of their situation in life, they always had to have that creative outlet and always had to be doing something more with their time than, as you say, going into a grind and for a lot of people that's a situation that you don't really have a choice, so I'm lucky enough that I have that ability to be able to go forth and create, and hopefully give a little bit of back to that community that made that.
For sure. Right now we're in the midst of like the COVID-19, craziness. Things are locking down again. Things are getting weird out there. And obviously it's stressful for a lot of people. How have you managed the stress of not knowing, having to shift, having to adapt, jobs falling through, jobs coming up? I don't know how it's been for you. Maybe you could give us a little glimpse into your life and let us know. But I'm sure it hasn't, this pandemic has not been easy to handle.
No, well, let's see, how have I handled it? Well, not well, really.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
But I find a lot of that, as we just mentioned, that kind of ebb and flow and that change in, your approach as an artist, it kind of sets off this catalyst, this panic mode, where you're trying to do everything at once. You're trying to really bounce into every direction you possibly can. You're trying to, it's like, I don't know if you've seen any of those videos of spiders trying to make their webs on various drugs and narcotics, caffeine, LSD, weed, you name it.
They don't come out quite
and
as symmetrical.
All comes out really, really crazy, and it all, and that's kind of how I feel. I feel like a spider on drugs. Just everything is very, attached in random places. There's no method to it. There's no, somehow it works. Somehow it's still technically a web, and that's, I feel like that's kind of what's been good about it, and that's what's been kind of driving me forward is to actually make something at some point that looks cohesive again. And because I feel a lot of us, our art is a product of our environment, that if you want to continue that consistency, that the only way that you can do that is to try to stabilize things. And how do you do that in an environment like this? It's really difficult. So
we're at the end of 2021 now, and we're coming up to 2022. What are you hoping to manifest for 2022? What's that web going to look like in a year when we're sitting here and looking back on that year? What are you hoping to do?
Well, hopefully I can develop some kind of a network or something along those lines where that flexibility becomes second nature, that dexterity, and I feel like that dexterity is something I've been seeing all across the board in all forms of media creation, all kinds of content creation. Everyone is becoming ultimately dexterous, because if you don't, and you don't have that kind of flexibility to go from one thing to another, to anything that needs to be done, and do it on the terms of COVID and on the terms of what clients need during COVID, without that flexibility, you have no real stance. You have no way to kind of build and go up. So I feel like that's kind of my method, my approach right now is, if I'm a spider on drugs that's making all these crazy, webs and stuff, I need to be the fastest and the most efficient spider on drugs that's making the crazy webs. It's just like do it harder, do it faster, and eventually there will be consistency and beauty in that.
Cool. What type of clients are you looking for this year?
Well, this year, I mean, along with any year, I feel like my main goal, the most inspirational clients that I've had are always with some form of a commissioned documentary. So that always comes from places of, arts organizations or nonprofit organizations, or anything along those lines. Of course, it would be nice to have, clients that can just pay you whatever, and, like you don't have to really, commit to any project or any goal in the long run. But ultimately, to be able to, as we said, give back a little bit more in that way, I feel like give back to the community and have, something tangible to show for it would be really nice. So any kind of clients along those lines that have a need for kind of some form of documentary or impromptu advertising is definitely right up my alley.
That's awesome. How do people find out about you? Where do we go see your portfolio and learn more about what you're doing?
Well, right now, my website is probably the best place to find all that. That's ziibinini.ca, ziibinini.ca. It's an Ojibwe word, stands, I believe, loosely translates to riverman. It was a spirit name given to me when I was very young. And I feel like that, kind of encompasses a strong relation to my workflow and everything. And they say that, you'll never know what that means until you kind of grow up and then, you actually get to, experience what that, your spirit name means. And I feel like, every day that I live it, it becomes more clear to me, which I think is really cool. On Instagram, it's at ziibinini.
Yeah. That's awesome. Again, thanks for coming in. Really appreciate it. And keep going, keep hustling, keep doing your thing. I mean, we have to encourage each other and help each other out because it is a crazy world out there right now. And we have to adapt quick and we have to make things work. So thanks for coming into the studio and sharing a little bit about your story. Thanks for checking in, guys. Peace.